All right, what's up, guys? VV back with another video. That's right. And in today's video, guys, we're going to be checking out the final color of OP07. It's just the way that they're listed on the website. I just go in order, and yellow was the last color to be released in the game. So I guess they're just going to keep with that pattern for the foreseeable future. So, guys, today we're going to be checking out yellow. We're going to be... Sorry, guys. Let me adjust my camera a little bit. There we go. Excuse me. We're going to be checking out yellow. And we're going to be... you know, looking at the OP07 stuff. So this is spoilers, spoiler warning, all that good stuff. Now's your chance to back out if you don't want to see that. And it is important. You know, I know these, a lot of people don't like to, a lot of people don't like to mess with the spoilers and all that. But it is important that we see what's going on over in the East. Because, you know, number one, a lot of the videos I'm going to do from here on is going to feature these new OP07 cards. Because, you know, the set's being released. So whenever I go over tournaments in the future and go over, you know, even deck lists in the future, you know, we'll be able to check out what they're running, and we'll know what we're talking about. We'll know what the cards do. So, all right, guys, let's go ahead and dive into this. We got yellow here, and we got Vegapunk on the screen. We got some really interesting stuff going on here. So, you know, without any further ado, let's just go ahead and dive straight in. So, first up, the new yellow leader, Vegapunk. This is a 2-life leader, 5,000 power, and it cannot attack. It is an egghead scientist type, and it has an activate main. This is the effect that it has. Because you think about it, it only has 2 life, and it's just an average 5,000 power. You know, that's just the average power level of power of a leader. And it can't attack, and it only has 2 life, so it has to have a very strong effect, right? Well, let's check it out. Activate main, pay 1, so it does cost 1. Select up to 1 egghead type card with a cost of 5 or less from your hand. So from your hand, and play it or add it to the top card of your life, or add it to the top of your life cards face up. So that is very nice, right? So you can choose to either like put it into place, you can start attacking and start fighting for board control, or if you need to start gaining a little bit of life, you can do that. And again, it's for the cost of 1. So one thing that I'm expecting to see, and I have seen a few you know, what do you call them? I've seen a few spoilers on this, and obviously these cards are going to have trigger play this card in order for this leader to have any type of meaningful value, right, going on with how to build the deck. But yeah. So on paper, though, I will say this, just looking at the effect, being a 5,000 power leader that cannot attack. Remember, he can attack. He cannot attack. Let me say that very clearly. And only has 2 life. The effect is very powerful, but overall, I only give this leader a 5 out of 10. Because, again, whenever I try to judge these cards, it's based on what the card itself does by itself. And this leader by itself is very, you know, very mediocre. Like, yes, it can gain a life every turn potentially, but it can't attack. And you know, yeah, it gains life for only 1 Dawn, too. That's very cheap, but I think you guys see where I'm going with that. I'm going to give the effect a 5 out of 10. Not to say the leader won't be good, just that the leader in a vacuum. That's what I give it. Okay, next up, the parallel alt art version just looks awesome. This looks so cool. Big fan of this one. That alt art looks great. Okay, so next up we have Atlas. This is a 5-cost, 6,000 power, 1,000 counter character, scientist type, egghead type, and the effect is if you have less life than your opponent, this character cannot be KO'd in battle. Okay, and trigger is if your leader is Vegapunk, play this card. So this obviously does not get around any of the, excuse me, any of the, you know, bottom deck effects or trash effects. You know, we're starting to see those pop up with like Brook, or even bounce like to life type of effects. But anything that's even a KO effect, it doesn't get around, by the way. It gets around being KO'd in battle. So in other words, their leader cannot just bully it and take it off the board by attacking into it and making you trash cards from hand. And the trigger just lets you play it from your hand. So exactly what we were saying. Like I said, I did see a little bit on how the leader works. And this, you know, there's been a bunch of spoilers. And if you guys are wondering where I see the spoilers before people do videos like this, they're on people's Discords, right? Like there's a Discord bot that most people have on their channel that just shows spoilers as soon as they come out. So, you know, if you want to hang out on Discord with the group, you know, here at the VV Theory, we do have a Discord. It'll be in the About Me section of my YouTube. So, you know, come hang out with us. We chill and we talk about One Piece all the time. And we get to see spoilers like this, you know, way before people do videos because they come out as soon as as soon as there's a spoiled card. Okay, so as far as this card goes, I don't want to spend too much time on it. I think it's a solid card. It's a 5-cost 6K with a 1K counter. Like, that's already very good for having the trigger to be able to just cheat it into play. And with this leader's effect, of course, you're always going to be able to line that up. But the effect is very mediocre to me. I'm not going to lie. If you have less life than your opponent, this character cannot be carried in battle. You know, unless people have been living under a rock, you know, 3,000 Worlds just removes this. Houndblaze is going to be able to easily remove this in Sakazuki. I mean, think about it like this. If you just attack for 5 with your leader, you drop him down to 4, hit him with a Great Eruption, they draw a card, -2, Houndblaze, swing you with brand new. You guys know how this works. But I'm just going to say the card in a vacuum, I think it's solid. I'm just going to give it a 6 out of 10. You know, because it does have the trigger to be able to come into play. It's just the effect that's kind of lackluster to me. It's better than nothing, though. It is way better than nothing, obviously. Next up is Usopp. We got a 1-cost, 2,000 power, 2,000 counter, Egghead, Small Hat crew type with no effect, but it does have a trigger. Let me put my glasses on for this. So this is up to one of your Egghead type leader or character cards gains plus 2,000 power until the end of your next turn. Okay, so that is both like offensive and defensive, right? So if you get this from your trigger, which you can always put there, you know, with your own effect, your own leader's effect, you're going to be able to buff your leader 2,000 for the turn. And then, well, I guess for your leader, it doesn't do a whole lot. But if you were to line this up on a character, one of your Egghead characters, they'll be plus 2,000 power for the turn. But more importantly, they'll be plus 2,000 power on your opponent's turn. So that's nice that it works both offensively and defensively, whatever you need to do. You know, I guess the idea there is if they're attacking your leader, like they're trying to go for lethal, this is really good because it gives you plus 2K for the rest of the turn, which is going to really hurt the way they're doing their attacks. But if it was their last attack for the turn, okay, well, that's nice. I'll just give my character on the board plus 2,000, so now offensively I get to get some value out of it. So very solid. I think this is a 7 out of 10. Actually, I'm going to give this a 7.5 out of 10 because it's a 2K counter. Really solid. Next up is Edison. Okay, another 2K counter here. So this is a 4-cost, 5,000 power, 2K counter with the effect of on play if you have it is an Egghead card, of course, that you'll be able to combo with your leader. It's a Scientist Egghead type card with on play if you have 2 or less life cards, draw 2 cards and trash 2 cards from your hand. If your leader is Vegapunk, play this card. This is nice. This is really nice. It has all of the relevant stats, and it's almost my favorite card, by the way. This is the closest thing I've seen to like just being my favorite kind of card. But not quite. Instead, it doesn't have blocker, and it's not a 5-cost that has just, you know, trash a card, play this card. This card is just really good. It's a 4-cost 5K. You can play it off your leader. You know, you can trigger it and just play it. If your leader's Vegapunk and you get hit in life with it, you can play it out. It's a 2K counter in hand. It on play, draw 2, trash 2 to cycle your hand. This card's just excellent. I give this card a 9 out of 10. This card is so practical and so solid for what it's doing in the deck it would be in. This card is just good, period. Right? It's just a good card. And for those who don't know, I mention it all the time. Maybe the developers of the game will listen to my videos one day and see this and implement it. But the character that I want to see the most is a 5-cost, 5,000 power character that has a 2K counter, only has blocker for an effect, but it has trigger, play this card, trash a card and play this card. And I would take it as a 6-cost 6K or a 7-cost 7K, but essentially a 2K counter that has trigger, play this, a 2K counter blocker with trigger, play this card from your hand by trashing a card, and then its cost matches its power. So in other words, if it's a 5-cost, it'd be a 5,000 power. If it's a 6-cost, it'd be a 6,000, and so on. I just think that'd be so cool. I know that's random. I'm sorry, guys, but that's just like my favorite idea for a character. Okay. Did I give it? Yeah, I gave this like a 9. It's probably closer to like an 8.5 out of 10, but I give this at least an 8.5 out of 10. Probably a 9 out of 10. Shaka. So this is a 5-cost 6K, 1K counter. I love the art here. Something about these colors in that background. For those who've seen my thumbnails for my videos, that is very much my style. I'm a big fan of the background of this and the style of this art. But he's a 5-cost 6K, 1K counter, Scientist Egghead type with blocker and trigger if your leader's Vegapunk, play this card. Okay, this is an extremely practical card. Excuse me. I actually like it better than the Atlas card we saw. I guess this is like the offensive version, right? Like this one you can attack with, this one you can block with. But I give this one a 7 out of 10 because you can still attack with this. But you know what? You cannot block with this card. Yeah, it survives being carried in battle, but these are 6K characters. It is a lot easier to defend a 6K attack than it is to defend a 5K attack. So I think this card's excellent. I give this a 7 out of 10. Next up, we got Jinbei, another 5 cost 6K. That is a nice stat line to be able to throw these into play from your leader's effect. This is very powerful. This is a 5 cost 6K, 1K counter, no effect. It's a Fishman, Egghead, Straw Hat Crew. This other one was Egghead, right? Yeah, it is. Okay, I was just making sure Shaka. Shaka is a scientist in Egghead as well. So Jinbei is a Fishman, Egghead, Straw Hat Crew type with no effect, but trigger. Return up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less to the owner's hand, and add this card to your hand. Wow. So this is going to allow you to really push cards back with your leader's effect and this card. This is going to let you, play this in, or excuse me, use your leader's effect, pay 1, put this into your life, so you gain a life. And then whenever they attack, if they have multiple 4 cost or less cards on the board, you're going to be able to bounce one back to their hand. That's very solid, right? Yeah, bounce it to the owner's hand. And then this card, it doesn't go away. It goes back to your hand. So it retains like full value. It eats 1 attack and bounces another. This card is a 9 out of 10 as well. And maybe an 8 out of 10. I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10. No, 8 out of 10. We're going to give it an 8 out of 10 because later in the game, it's obviously not as powerful. But this card is excellent. Really, really, really strong. Tony Chopper. We got a 2 cost 3K, 1K counter. He is an animal, egghead, straw hat crew type with no effect. But trigger, up to one of your egghead type characters gains a blocker during this turn. Then add this card to your hand. So same idea there. So I guess this one's really meant to combo with, up to one of your egghead type characters gains blocker during this turn. So that's going to be very solid with something like, where is it, Atlas. Where it's like, okay, you play this card out. Maybe you don't attack for the turn, I guess, potentially. I'm saying, potentially you could do that. Or actually, I'm sorry, you probably could do instead. I just thought of this. This would be a much better idea. You just play this card out for the turn. And then you play the chopper to your life. And then when they attack, you take the chopper hit to your life. That goes to your hand. And now this card is your blocker. And you can make this card a blocker. And now it can't be KO'd in battle. So they have to remove it with another effect. So that seems like a very solid synergy. And y'all correct me if I'm wrong, if I messed anything up there, guys. This is my first time reading a lot of these cards. It is what it is. Bear with me, guys. I do apologize if I ever make any mistakes. Just help me out down in the comment section below. I'm never trying to give misinformation. Just understand that. I'm never trying to mislead anyone. Okay, next up is 3 costs, 4,000 power, 1K counter, Nico, Robin. This is a Egghead, Straw Hat Crew type as well. With trigger, if your leader has the Egghead type, draw 2 cards. Okay, yeah, this is outstanding. Especially if you get this early on, where you can just play this out, or pay 1, add this to your life, take that first hit, draw 2 cards. And again, everything I'm saying with these triggers is obviously in, I'm referencing the Vegapunk leader who has the Egghead type, where these all work with. By themselves, none of these cards are very good by themselves, guys. It does have to be said. But I don't know, some of these triggers are decent, well, except the ones where it requires Vegapunk. But like this one, let me see the Jinbei one. Return up to one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 4 less to the owner's hand, and add this card to your hand. So this card would work. This card could work in something like some type of yellow deck. But some of them can't. Where it requires your leader to be Egghead. But yeah, with this card, it does. It requires your leader to be Egghead. But if it is, you can draw 2 cards with this effect. Very, very solid. This is a good utility card. It's nothing crazy. I just give it a 6 out of 10. Because you can't just play it as a 3 cost 4K, attach a 1K to it, smash in, and it has a 1K counter. But with this leader's effect, there are some really, really strong ones we already saw, where you can just play these cards. You're paying 1 to play a 5 cost 6K, or do you want to pay 1 to draw 2 cards? That's kind of what it comes down to. Still has a 1K counter, it still has a lot of versatility, but I'll give this like a 6.5 out of 10. I'll go up 6.5 out of 10. Solid. Next up is Pythagoras. This is a 5 cost 6K, 1K counter. Scientist Egghead type, and has on KO, and by the way, real quick, trigger if your leader's Vegapunk, play this card. The effect is on KO. If you have 2 or less life cards, play up to 1 Egghead type character card with a cost of 4 or less from your trash, rested. Okay, so on KO, if you have 2 or less life cards, play up to 1 Egghead type character card with a cost of 4 or less from your trash, rested. So that goes perfectly with a few cards. Number 1, this is the 4 cost you could grab, this Edison here. And you can give this card blocker with Tony Chopper if they're going to not attack. So if they decide, like, okay, I'm not going to attack in that card and give you extra value, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to force you to now, you know. And yeah, they can still get around it with you know, things that don't KO, like bottom deck and whatnot. But still, you know, this it at least forces their hand on a card that, you know, they probably don't want to use their better removal on. If they even have that kind of removal to remove this card. But this is very solid. I'll give this a 6 out of 10. I don't think it's crazy. I will say that. I don't think this is crazy, but it is a nice 5-cost 6K that you can play from life. Okay, next up we have Fuza. Fuza is a 4-cost 6,000 power, no counter, animal Sky Island type character. With the effect of Dawn ×1, when attacking, if you have 1 or less life, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 3 or less. Okay, so it's not an on-play, it's a Dawn ×1 when attacking. So you'll swing for 7, and if you have 1 or less life cards, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 3 or less. It's not bad. I could see this going in like a black-yellow Sky Island deck, like a black-yellow Sky Island type of deck where you can, you know, hit them with a Great Eruption, they hit a 5 or less with this, and, you know, you're going to want to stay at around 1 life. Maybe this is a cope, but that seems like a pretty good black-yellow Linland deck in the future coming out, maybe. Like some type of Sky Island black-yellow Linland deck. Who knows? I'm not trying to get anyone's hopes up on that. I still plan on playing black-yellow Linland, but this requires a lot of setup. It is a 4-cost 6K, but it doesn't have a counter. So you know, it does lose some versatility in that regard. But I don't know. I think on paper, though, I think this is still just a very solid card. All it's missing is a 1K counter. You're losing a 1K counter to get this Dawn ×1 effect to KO a 3 or less. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I think this card's absolutely fine. You know, solid card. Okay, next up we got Frankie. This is a 4-cost 5K, 2K counter. Wow. Okay, that stat line's really going around right now. Bandai has decided that's a stat line that they need to start pursuing, is like this 4-cost 5K body that also has a 2K counter and some type of effect or trigger. And in this case, it does not have an effect. It has a trigger to draw 1 card. So trigger, draw 1 card. Then if you have 1 or less life cards, play this card. Notice it does not specify you have to be a Vegapunk leader. Your leader does not have to be, or not Vegapunk, Egghead type. So, or Vegapunk for that matter. But this card, yeah, this is a great 2K counter. Like I was saying, decks that like to stay around 1 life, decks like NL. I should have mentioned that, by the way, with Fuza. That'd be very. This is obviously very strong in NL, guys. I'm sorry, I overlooked that, but obviously it is. It's Sky Island type. That should be common sense, right? I'm sorry I didn't mention it. But with this card, Frankie, yeah, this works just fine as well, right? This is like a better version of Satori. It's a 4-cost 5K, 2K counter, and it has this trigger to draw a card and then play itself if you have if you have 1 or less life cards. So yeah, this card's excellent. I'm gonna give this a 9 out of 10. This card is outstanding, and it's got a awesome parallel alt art version of it. This is just awesome too. Really cool. Look at those abs, man. He is shredded. Like this one, I love the details, the shading, everything they added. Look, this looks really good. Okay, next up we got Vega Force 1. This is a 4-cost 6,000 power 1K vanilla egghead type card. So here's a nice way to just have a 4-cost 6K in the deck, where I can imagine a turn if you're going first. Like say you're a Vegapunk and you're going first. And by the way, Vegapunk probably does not mind going first. Well, this card would be excellent on turn 3 when you have 5 Dawn, because you'll be able to just play this card out as a 4-cost 6K body, and then pay 1 with your leader effect to add one of these 5-cost 6Ks that are going to be able to just come into play, you know, from their trigger effects and being in the Egghead type deck. So this card I think is excellent. It's a 5 out of 10 being a vanilla, but it's probably closer to like a 7 out of 10 in the right deck. This card is very solid. This card's excellent. Okay, next up we got Monkey D. Luffy. This is a 5-cost 6K, 1K counter, 4 Emperors, Egghead, Straw Hat crew type. Okay, very nice. Activate, excuse me, let me put my glasses on for this. So the effect is activate main. You may trash this character. Okay. Let's see how strong this is. You're going to trash this character, guys. Y'all see that? Activate main, trash this character. If you have 2 or less life cards, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 4 or less, then draw 1 card. Okay, that's actually not bad. And then it has a trigger, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 4 or less. Yeah, that's that's interesting. You're playing a character that KOs itself to draw a card. I would almost rather this card be a an event. Yeah, I don't know how else to say it. Why couldn't it just be an event that does this? But at the same time, Bandai loves printing removal on characters. I won't go into a long rant right now. How are we doing on time? Okay, we're doing fine on time. I'm not going to go into a long rant right now, but Bandai likes to put removal on characters. And you know what ends up happening is they put these incredible effects on the characters where all of a sudden, why play any events? Do you need removal on an event? Or, excuse me, do you need removal? Well, let's just find a character that has removal. Do you need some kind of defensive event? Well, don't get an event. Let's just get a defensive character, like a blocker or something. You know what I mean? It's one of those weird situations where I'm not saying there are no good events. Yes, of course there are some good events out there. But generally speaking, it's like they're replacing the need for events with just characters. So, I don't know. I argued about that earlier on when I first made this channel. It was probably like in my first month or two of doing these, I think, where I talk about, you know, or I have a video. It might have been the first 3 or 4 months of my channel. I can't remember. Whatever the case was, I made a video called Let's Talk About Removal. And it's like in most TCGs that I've played, your characters are characters, and they are meant to interact with the board by giving buffs and debuffs here and there and doing things like that, or maybe like hindering a character, tapping down a character, making a character active, like all kind of board effects. And then removal is typically not on a character's body. It would be on like an event. Or like in Magic the Gathering, it'd be on an instant or a sorcery. Or on, you know, fill in the blank, whatever game it is. Typically, you're going to want your events or your spells to be your KO effects. You know, your ability to remove characters. But then your characters are meant to fight the way they do. But in One Piece, your characters just do everything. You know, where it's like, okay, like, here we go. I'll play out Rebecca. Now I have a blocker. I don't have to worry about having like a special event to defend with. And that will play out another character, which will give -4 cost to a character. And then I'll play out a removal from that. You know what I mean? Where it's like, wait, why did all these... And the removal could literally have been like Lucci. You know, where it's like, wait, I just played 3 characters and did 3 effects that events probably could have, or probably should have done. Like in the case of Great Eruption and Ice Age. But anyway, I said I wouldn't go on a tangent. I ended up going on one anyway. Sorry, guys. But long story short, I think this card is excellent. It is going to replace itself, and it does have the added versatility of being an attacker. If you don't need to remove any of their characters, or their characters are too big at the point of the game you're in, you can just start attacking with it. Really solid card. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I think this card's excellent. And of course, oh, nice. And they have a parallel art for parallel alt art version of the card as well. Looks excellent. And I was going to say, of course, I'm already considering this for Black Yellow Linlin, so you know it'll be interesting. Card's really solid. Okay, next up we have York. This is a 5-cost, 6,000 power, 1k counter, scientist, egghead type character. With the effect of on play, you may add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life cards to your hand, and then KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 2 or less. And if your leader is Vegapunk, play this card as the trigger. So it's a 5-cost, 6k. You take the life, it comes into play, and the on play is you may add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life cards to your hand to KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 2 or less. So, I mean, Yellow's getting a lot of KO here. Like, you'd expect these effects... I feel like you'd expect some of these effects to be on, like, black cards. But Yellow's getting just straight removal. Seems dangerous, I'm not going to lie. It does seem dangerous, you know, because Yellow already has these incredible triggers and some very incredible leaders. But yeah, I think this card is outstanding. Sorry guys, my mouth's drying out, my lips are drying out, so I keep licking my lips. But you may add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life cards to your hand. So you're going to draw a card from life, basically, to KO a 2 or less, and that's an on-play effect. Yeah, I think it's fine. I think this is solid. I'm going to give this one a 6.5 out of 10. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 because you do technically, like, lose a life. So, yeah. Very solid, though, still. Next up, we got Lilith. Lilith is a 3-cost, 5,000 power, no counter, scientist egghead type character. The effect is on play. Look at 5 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to... Yeah, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to 1 egghead type card other than Lilith, and add it to your hand. Then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. So this is just like a straight up better version of Pair of Sparrow, where you do a top 5 search on play, and you know, and it still has trigger play this card for. This is just a souped up Pair of Sparrow. And I guess the idea behind this is they had to make it stronger than Pair of Sparrow because your leader is so hindered by what it does, and this Well, I guess this... Hang on. So this card does work outside of Vegapunk, like the on-play effect does. The trigger obviously doesn't. But generally speaking, this is a Vegapunk style card. I was going to say you might be able to use it outside of it, but no, you probably shouldn't. It would lose a lot of its value with the trigger effect. But either way, a 3-cost, 5,000 power top 5 searcher that has trigger play this card. Yep, this is a very, very good card. I will say this, like I was saying, or I should say, like I was saying earlier, playing you don't want to play these from your life unless you have to, unless you just have no other option. These 1-cost, or I think there was a 1-cost one over here somewhere, or a 3-cost. Yeah, this card, Nico Robbins. Well, this one you have to trigger to get the effect. Okay, I don't remember what I was going to say then. Oh, I was saying play out. I was saying to play out the Atlas and then play this card into life. But generally speaking, this card right here that we were just on... Sorry, guys. I know I'm blasting through these. Lilith. This one you're probably going to want to play from your hand. Yes, you can still play it as a trigger. It still has that added value. But you're going to want to, like, for example, if you're on an even curve, you're going to want to play this on turn 2 and then pay 1 to add 1 card to the top of your life as well. And you'll still get the on-play, you'll still establish the body, and you'll still gain a life and all that good stuff. But solid card. I'm giving this like a 9 out of 10. I think this card's insane. It's a 3-cost 5K. It's right on curve. It doesn't have a counter, but it play this card for free. Like, you don't have to trash your card or anything like Parasparrow. And then, unlike Parasparrow, who has to be KO'd to get the effect to look at the top 3 cards, this is an on-play top 5 search. I'm giving this a 9 out of 10. This card's outstanding. And we got a alt-art version for it. Looks really good, too. Not a huge fan of this one. I actually like the standard art for it better, but that still looks really good. Okay, we got Lucy here. Got to check my time over here one more time. All right, we got to pick it up a little bit here. Pick up the pace. Lucy is a 6-cost, 7,000 power, Dressrosa, Revolutionary Army type character. And it has the effect of, when attacking once per turn, you may add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life cards to your hand. You may rest up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. And then if you have 1 or less life cards, add up to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life cards. Wow. Okay, that's nice. So it's a 6-cost 7K Dressrosa Revolutionary Army type. Those are not really types I care too much about typically, but because okay, and let me specify, guys. Obviously, I'm considering black yellow, and I understand there's a black yellow Dressrosa type leader now with Kairos, or at least there will be at the time of this being released. I think it comes out in EV01 to be specific. But this when attacking, you may add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life cards to your hand, and then you may rest up 1 of your opponent's characters that costs 4 or less. And then if you're at 1 or less life, you can add the top card of your deck to the top of your life cards. So you're not gaining life. Let me say that. You're not gaining life. You're basically cycling a life card. So either way, it is a life card cycle if you're at 1 or less life. You know, after the effect, you're at 1 or less life. So if you're at 2 or less life when you start swinging, and you're going to be able to rest down to 4 or less. So it does have a lot of utility. It does not have a 1K counter, but that's not too uncommon for 6-cost cards and higher. But I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10, just like the number it has. I think it's solid because it does cycle a card. Well, actually, okay, I guess it does draw you a card. It doesn't gain you a life, but it does draw you a card. It's not even just a cycle. It actually is a straight-up card draw. Because, like, let's just say you have 5 cards in hand. Well, you're going to draw the top card of your life and then replace it. So it is an actual card draw. I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. I think this card is solid. I don't know how much play it will see. But yellow doesn't have very many good 6-cost characters. I think it only has Edward Newgate, a card that came out in the ST13 Three Brothers Bond. Okay, next up we got Zoro. I'm so afraid to say his first name, Roronoa Zoro. I feel like I'm going to butcher it every time, but I tried there for y'all. He has a 5-cost 6K, 1K counter, no effect. He is Egghead Straw Hat Crew. Trigger, if your leader has the Egghead type, rest up to 1 of your opponent's leader or character cards. Wow. If your leader has the Egghead type, rest up to 1 of your opponent's leader or character cards. But it does not play the card afterwards. So this card does go away when you do this effect, correct? If your leader has the Egghead type, rest up to 1 of your opponent's leader or character cards. So I'm not a huge fan of that. The art, I'm a huge fan of. This art looks incredible. It's a 5-cost, 6,000 power body with a 1K counter. That is all, fine and dandy. But that trigger, don't get me wrong, that trigger does act as a beige, right? Like if your opponent swings with I don't know, whatever they swing with. If your opponent attacks in, if they have like 2 or 3 characters on the board, if they attack with one of their characters, you can rest their leader or their other, whatever their next strongest character is. So, I mean, that effect is very powerful. And like I said, this kind of acts like a beige, but it has a 5-cost 6k body with just a 1k counter, but still. It's too bad they couldn't make this a 5-cost 5k count, 5-cost 5k with a 2k counter. That would have been interesting. But anyway, very solid card. I'm going to give this a 6.5 out of 10, maybe even a 7 out of 10. Very, very strong. Maybe it's stronger than that, guys. Maybe it's like closer to like a 9 out of 10. Because we all know how strong beige is, and this is basically a light version of that. People would be able to get around it, obviously, by unresting their characters if they have effects that make their characters active or their leader active. But still, this is a very, very powerful effect. I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10. Okay, next up we have He Possesses the World's Most Brilliant Mind. So this is a 1-cost scientist egghead event that has the main effect of, okay, it's a top 5 search. So trigger, draw a card, but the effect is look at 5 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 egghead type card other than He Possesses the World's Most Brilliant Mind, and add it to your hand. Then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. So this one I'm going to go with just a straight up 6 out of 10. It's a top 10 searcher, or excuse me, a top 5 searcher. It's a top 5 searcher. I don't really have too much to say about it. Next up we have I Rayquaza Help. I require, but Rayquaza Help. Okay, very, very good. Interesting name there. It's a 1-cost scientist egghead type event with the effect of counter if you have 2 or less life cards. Up to 1 of your leader or character cards gains plus 3,000 power during this battle. So it's a 1-cost 3k if you have 2 or less life cards. Trigger, play up to 1 egghead type character card with a cost of 5 or less from your trash. Wow, very nice. So the trigger is also very strong if you need to play this with your leader's effect. I wonder... I'm sorry, guys. I got to go back to the leader real quick. Does this allow... Select up to 1 egghead type card. So you can play events. Unless I read that too quickly. Let me see it one more time. Pay 1. Select up to 1 egghead type card with a cost of 5 or less from your hand and play it on... play it or add it to the top of... Play it or add it to the top of your life cards face up. So you'll be able to play this, you know, well, why would you want to play this event that only costs 1? Let me get back to it. Sorry, guys. But still, like, you know, you'd be able to add it to the top of your life if you want the trigger effect. So that's very solid. That is very good. It goes perfectly with the leader and with his effect. I give this just a nice 6 out of 10. Maybe a 6.5 out of 10. I think this effect is just fine. Okay, next up we have Blaze Slice. This is a 1-cost Land of Wano, the Akazaya 9 type. It is a event with the effect of main or counter, main/counter. Up to 1 of your leader or character cards gains plus 1,000 power during this turn. Then if your opponent has 2 or less life cards, rest up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. And then trigger rest of 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. Wow. That is nice. That has a lot of utility. This is a very powerful event. It's a 1-cost 1k for the turn that can also rest a 4 or less if you have 2 or less life. Yeah, this is excellent, guys. This is really good. And the trigger rests a 4 or less. Yeah, that is very nice. The picture's kind of weird. The picture's, I don't really know what's going on because like I've mentioned before, I don't really like go into the manga or anything, or even, you know, watch the show. But the picture is kind of mysterious to me. I don't really know what's going on. It's probably like an iconic scene, but I just have no idea what's going on in the actual picture itself from the top-down angle. But anyway, still a very powerful card. I'm going to give this card like a 7.5 out of 10 because this can be used offensively or defensively. So attaching one Dawn to your leader is 1k, right? This card, you pay 1 and you can still give out the 1k that you would have, you know, attached to to attack with. So this gets rid of that. Like, this automatically pays for itself with the plus 1,000 wherever you need it for a leader or character card. Then, if you have 2 or less life cards, you're going to be able to tap down a 4 or less just like 200 million volts of Maru. And on top of that, one more thing is you can use it as a counter if you need to get your character, to get your leader to plus 1,000 for the turn on defense. And it has a solid trigger as well to tap down something. Very solid. I'm going to give this like a 7.5 out of 10. It probably could go a little higher. Okay, next up we have Egghead the Stage. It's an Egghead type, literally called Egghead, and it's a stage that has the effect... Actually, the triggers play this card. Let me say that first. Triggers play this card, and the effect is, end of your turn, If you have 3 or less life cards, set up to 1 egghead type character with a cost of 5 or less is active. Okay, so that'll go back in line with what we were saying with the chopper card, to give a card blocker that normally wouldn't have it. This works out perfectly with that. Very solid, and the trigger just plays it. Yeah, this is an excellent stage. It's not like insane, it's not broken or anything, but it is going to help you save your characters. Let's give this a nice, 6.5 out of 10. Okay, and then we get to some cards that I actually looked over, or that I did not realize were back here. These are the secret rarity cards. Okay, so, I'm sorry, guys. So we got Sabo back here. So Sabo is an 8-cost, 9,000 power character, Revolutionary Army. It's a black card. It's not yellow. Sorry, guys. This is a black card. It should have been in the black spoilers, but this was in the back of the set because it's a secret rare. It's a secret rarity card. So this is an 8-cost, 9,000 power character. With the effect of on play, you may trash 1 card from your hand and KO up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less, and 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 3 or less. I was wondering where this card was. It totally slipped my mind when I went through all the black cards. I totally forgot about this card. I have talked about it in another video, as well as the next card we're going to look at, because now it's starting to dawn on me what the next card is, like the other secret rare. But Sabo, I think this card is incredible, and I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. The lowest I could give this card is like an 8.5 out of 10. It's an 8-cost 9K, which is the same frame as like a Gecko Moria. And it's the type, it doesn't have a counter, and the type is kind of mediocre. It doesn't have Dressrosa for some reason. Well, I shouldn't say for some reason. Unfortunately, it doesn't have Dressrosa, but it has Revolutionary Army. But that effect of on play, KO of 5 or less and 3 or less, just outstanding. Like with any deck that runs black, like especially like think about like Luffy, the black Luffy leader from ST9 or something like that, ST8, I can't remember where it is. Whatever the Straw Hat Crew black Luffy leader is that gains a rested Dawn whenever you KO a character. This allows you to swing for 7 the turn you play this card. You know what I mean? Now, you do have to trash a card, but you're KOing 2 of your opponent's characters, potentially. I think this card is like a 9 out of 10. Really, really powerful card. And the art looks incredible. Okay, the alt art looks good as well, the parallel alt art version. But I actually like this version way better. That black and yellow going on there just looks incredible. It goes pretty hard. Looks awesome. Okay, and then I think this is probably the last card. And this is a yellow card, so back to yellow. This is Portgoss the Ace. This is a 10-cost, 10,000 power Whitebeard Pirates type character card. With the effect of on play, add up to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life cards. Then if you have 2 or less life cards, this character gains rest during this turn. So I have mentioned this card before in a previous video where I was talking about like some really incredible cards I'm looking forward to in OP07. If you're low on life, this is just a rusher that just smashes in. 10 cost 10k, gains you a life and smashes in for 10. But if you're not low on life, you got like 2 life and you go to 3, or if you got 3 life and go to 4, okay, you're getting more and more life and you're establishing these huge bodies. And don't forget, guys, cards that go to your life, you're going to draw those eventually, right? Or they're going to trigger. So it is card advantage. And it also like gives you extra turns to set up and whatnot. This card is incredible. This is a 9 out of 10. This card is absolutely incredible. Enel will probably love this card. It's almost, it might as well have been a Sky Island type, but then it would have been totally broken because it would have been searchable and everything for them. But this card's outstanding. A 9 out of 10. Okay, and the alt art, again, I'm not a big fan of whatever's going on with the 2 alt arts for the brothers. I see how they go together, like how their hands would be touching it. If Sabo was on the left like this and then Ace was on the other side on the right, their hands would be like right there. And they kind of like, I think they end up sharing devil fruits, right? At some point, whenever, okay, major spoiler warnings going on right now. Sorry, guys. But let me not even go down that path. The alt arts are cool how they match, but I'm a way bigger fan of these standard arts. They just look incredible. Okay, and then we got some other parallels we'll glance over real quick. This is Okiku parallel. These are just the special ones coming out. Doflamingo, that looks awesome. Got the little, like, what is this, like a pool scene or something? I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I think it's like a pool party type scene with Don Quixote, Doflamingo. Very cool. Izo, the 1-cost searcher, parallel alt art. Isho, that's nice. I do like Isho. And Eustace Captain Kidd. This is a 5-cost, 6k, 1,000 power blocker. Oh, this is the when a Dawn card on your field be returned, add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. Okay, yeah, really cool. I just want to go through them all first, then we'll go backwards. Oh, Nami parallel. Okay, this is the 2 cost from OP06. This card's extremely good, and the alt art looks really awesome. I love that, like that festival type vibe. Just looks great. Okay, and then back to the normal stuff. Okay, so these were just a bunch of alt arts. Again, I'm not really going to rate these. They just look really good. But as far as yellow goes, Ace looks incredible. This is, like I said, this is like a 9 out of 10. But then pretty much everything else, and Sabo looked incredible too, but that should have been in the black cards. My apologies, guys. Everything else for Egghead, it looks interesting. I'm not going to lie. I do think it has some potential because you're playing... I mean, anytime you're cheating out Dawn, you're cheating Dawn costs. You know, like paying 1 for a 5 cost. Yeah, of course there's potential there for the deck to be abused. But I'm wondering if it still needs a few cards to take it to like a competitive level. None of us know yet, right? The leaders have not gone through any tournaments at the time of me recording this video. We have absolutely no idea how this is going to go. So we do have to wait, you know, be patient, see how things turn out. But I do think the Vegapunk Egghead stuff has a lot of potential. That Luffy was really cool. Yeah. Well, that's about it, guys. This Frankie was absolutely incredible. The Foos is going to be interesting in an L and potentially Black Yellow Linlin. You know, keeping the dream alive, right, guys? But all these other cards were just solid. All right, guys, that's it. I'm done rambling. If I missed anything, I'm sorry. Y'all tell me down in the comment section below. And please don't forget to like and subscribe if you have not already. What do y'all think about Vegapunk? Is this leader going to be... I feel like this is going to be the kind of leader where, like, it's going to have its own cult following, right? There are certain ones that have that. Like, Boa Hancock will probably have her own thing going on, right? Like, her own, like, cult following for... And I don't mean to be disrespectful when I say cult. I'm not saying they worship it as a religion or anything, but y'all know what I'm saying. Like, it's just like a jokingly... saying it in a joking manner. But... I think Vegapunk will have a group of people that like just always play this leader because it's so interesting and it's so unique. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? That's awesome. This is a good use of Bandai and Cardass, who makes the games. Their name is Carddass, Cardass. I think it's how you say it. They're the actual like designers of the game, if I'm not mistaken. Again, someone help me out there. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But the people who make the game, who design it, you know, this is a good use of like, if you're going to implement all these different leaders all the time, like, because they implement like 6 new leaders a set, right? And then even have ST decks that come out with new leaders as well. Well, if they're going to do that, at least have really interesting, cool leaders like this, if they can maintain the balance. So yeah. Either way, that's it, guys. I'm done rambling. Hope y'all enjoyed. Again, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, guys, peace.